I would like to call this story Chemical Backsplash. And you know how it goes with the gurgles.
Waves of pain.
And the sweats.
Mhm.
And come to find out we're not as far as we thought we were. And I for sure peed on their property. Also, before I get started, anybody else who does any kind of road work or field work or heavy on the road travel, please tell us your stories. I specifically would love to hear from truck drivers, although I think that their pee situations are different, but
They have like a pee in the truck thing.
welcome back and happy Tuesday, turkeys. How long have we known each other?
We've known each other for 2 decades.
I am not apologizing for who I am or what I like or the people that I love.
How do I be a wife? How do I be a mom? And how do I be myself and all of that? You didn't see that coming, did you?
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy pants party pants.
Happy pants party. How are you today?
I'm good. I got my stretchy pants on. I'm feeling like we're going to have a good Tuesday.
Well, it's perfect timing because this one will be driven by Kailey and we are calling it Stories from the Road.
I love it already.
I think what inspired this is I was kind of reflecting that when I did my job with probation, I obviously was going in homes. I was obviously out on the road. Being on the road means you have to use gas station bathrooms. And I was reflecting on how I swore I would never do home visit, like a home visit based job ever again after that. And somehow I am.
Yeah, exactly. But different. But yeah.
Different, very different. But still, somehow I'm still using gas stations all the time. So anyway, my caveat is all of these are stories from my previous job when, like I said, when I was doing probation. And I need to set the scene a little bit for this because for those of you who don't know, you're on, at least with the probation job that I had, we had issued weapons. So again, if you're a guy, maybe you haven't considered how difficult it is for women to go to the bathroom when there's anything going on other than just plain pants or leggings.
Mhm.
Let me see if I can properly do this without you not hearing me. Okay. I have really cool blue pants on today.
Those are real nice.
Should have thought this through. Okay, I just need you to imagine that you have all this shit right here. Keep in mind, I also didn't have one of the quote unquote duty belts that you can Velcro on and off. I strung all my shit along on my heavy duty belt thing on my pants. Okay. So if you unbuckle that, that means all this weight. First of all, a fully loaded Glock 19 is heavy. Then you have 2 magazines. Those are heavy. The miscellaneous other shit. It's heavy. So if you unbuckle, then you have to stick your butt out so that you can slowly pull everything down. Otherwise, it'll go crashing to the floor and either smash your toe. I knew things weren't going to just misfire if they fell to the ground, but still. And then you're standing there like wide legged, trying not to let them go too far. Because if they go too far, then they're going to be on the ground. And then what if the lady in the stall next to you decides that she wants to try to steal your shit?
It's crazy. It's
like them back up is a whole other thing. And then you have to like lift it up over your waist and then like jiggle everything in place so that your seam matches its seam, if you know what I mean. And things are aligned, and then like try to get it all back together as it was. And for somebody that drinks a lot of water, I pee like every hour on the hour.
You're probably sweating every time after you go to the bathroom, like trying to get all your stuff on.
So as I'm telling you these stories, I want you to keep in mind that I'm also dealing with all of that. And I probably could have gotten a duty belt. There's multiple reasons why that are of no interest to anybody else.
I wonder how
Basically,
many... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think like full-time normal police officers have something that's different than the setup that I had. But because I was sometimes having to like run out when I was in my dress clothes, or I was doing it when I was having a whole day of field work, I needed to be able to pull stuff apart and restring it on a belt and different belts. And anyway, if I, at least at my agency, if I would have had the kind that was like fixed, I would have only ever been able to use my fixed duty belt. But even then, they had to tear it off and then hang it up. And what if there's not somewhere to hang it?
That's still pain in the butt.
The moral of the story is in this situation, it's much more convenient to have a wiener.
Yeah, because all you got to do is jangle, unzip, jangle, put it back. Unless you have to poo. How many, do I know any of these stories yet? Have you told me these over the years, you think?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm so
You
excited.
might know one or two. You might know pieces of them. Okay. I'm already out of breath just from demonstration. This first story I would like to call Farmland Pit Stop. So we're driving. We're in the middle of nowhere. Obviously, there's farms. The backstory to this is that the kid I was going to see was arrested. He was doing dumb shit. They're always doing dumb shit. I can't remember. I want to say he was smuggling stuff across the border. I don't remember. Anyway, his family decides, because he's maybe 19 or 20. I'm not joking when I say kid. He was young. So they decide that he should maybe go spend his time pre-trial while he's pending his disposition of his case. He should go spend that time with some family friends that they had that I believe were Mennonites on their farm.
Okay.
Which I'm all for. Very therapeutic. Change your scenery, do some manual labor, be outside, be with the ground, the people. Anyway, so the home I was going to, I was expecting to be nice people, but also still you're trying to have some level of authority and not look like a dingle dangle. So I didn't really want to show up to their house and ask to use their bathroom.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are people in that probation job that work in really, really, really rural settings, or maybe they don't have a choice. I don't know what they do, but I always made it a rule not to pee in a home. My field partner and I were driving around in circles after circles, and there's no cell signal in that part of the state. You get really far north into Florida where a lot of the farmland is. I didn't even know if we were crossing into Alabama. We were just in the middle of peanut fields everywhere. And it's building. I'm like having to pee more and pee more. And then, once we get to the house, it's a 20, maybe 20-minute visit. I mean,
a long enough time where you're like, I can't hold this.
How long of a time of what?
Where you can't hold it.
I don't know. I just know that it had been building and building. And then I started realizing that I'm going to hit a point of no return if we get to their house where I've got to do something. So basically, I tell my coworker, because we are lost at this point too. Like our GPS isn't working. I swear to God, at one point we were driving down between two fields where a tractor was supposed to go, not our car. And there's this patch of woods. And so basically I just had to pull over and tell my coworker I have to go pee. So I had to go pee in the woods. As I'm peeing, I'm thinking to myself, please, Jesus, don't let them have like a field cam somewhere, for hunting or just any miscellaneous thing. Who knows? Maybe I'm on somebody's deer camera somewhere. But so I finally pee. I feel better. I've peed enough at this point to maneuver all of my trappings around, which is not great. Squatting and hovering over dirt, making sure there's not like fire ants or weird shit. And I get back in the car, and then we're not that far from their house. Like, come to find out, we're not as far as we thought we were, and I for sure peed on their property.
Oops.
I don't think anyone saw me, so everything was fine. As I said, they were absolutely lovely people. This is a side tangent, but we called it the Disney house because when we went, there were farm animals. I don't know. Maybe I was seeing stars because I had to pee so bad before that the relief of it made me feel blissful. But my old coworker agreed. There were farm animals, and there was like a big dog that ran up and greeted us.
Wow.
And his wife had made this pitcher of lemonade, and we weren't allowed to take anything from anybody. And I didn't really think it was all that wise to consume food from people when we went to their house, even though I don't think there was any ill will with these folks. But it was like this beautiful glass pitcher of lemonade, and it was glistening in the sun. And then she'd made cookies.
My.
I've never been so embarrassed to not take food from someone because I felt so bad.
Oh yeah, that's awkward.
I know.
And also to have peed on their property.
Yeah, I mean, I had just peed on their property, and they were very traditional Mennonite people. And then that was also weird because she was doing, as a woman of the house, like her nice thing to be welcoming, and then I couldn't really return the favor, and the sun is driving me nuts. And then the whole time, the man of the house was talking to me, and he was really trying to talk to me and be respectful, but you could tell it was confusing, and my field partner was a guy. So
Oh,
I would watch him like naturally look at my coworker, but then remember I was the one that was talking. He was really not being rude. He was really trying. I could feel his intention of trying to take me seriously, but I was like, oh, yeah, I just peed in your farm.
that's awful. I thought it was going to be way worse, but I can see like internally how awkward you would feel about the whole situation.
Yeah. Peeing in the woods with your male coworker is also not ideal.
No, and especially with the whole belt again, because not
Yeah.
only do you have to worry about that over a toilet, now you're hovering and having to balance and
I
hold
was
up
like,
that extra weight.
or speaking of this in the office. And also, because you also have to go so much further into the woods. So he
Right,
didn't see you.
right.
It's not like when Jason and I are lost somewhere and I just squat next to the side of the car and it's safe. Okay, next. I would like to call this story Chemical Backsplash.
No.
I
Oh
don't
no.
think you've ever
I
had
think
it.
okay.
You've
I have
probably
some
heard a version of
guesses.
this story before. I'd like to set the scene to say that I'm again with my male coworker. Different male coworker this time. Luckily this one had some what's the right word? Not IBS. Anyway, he had some digestional disease issues. So he was very sympathetic to my needs. So we were driving around and all of a sudden the poopy problems hit. And you know how it goes with the gurgles.
Waves of pain.
And the sweats.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's 95 degrees outside. We're not in the middle of nowhere, but we're nowhere near a gas station.
That makes sense.
So we're driving and this is not pee where you can sort of shift around and maybe hope and pray that you can hold it a little bit. This was an all out, I can't hold back the tides. And I see a gas station and I was like, Mike, you're going to have to stop at the gas station. Because at this point I had been telling him, okay, I'm about to poop in my pants. Well, thank God we had a decent
He's
rapport.
fully aware. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, this is becoming an emergency. And then all of a sudden it hit. And I was like, Mike, you gotta, sorry, I'm using his name. You gotta pull over. I have to use, and he's like, are you sure? Because this was a raggedy ass looking Porta-Potty.
Oh, it was
a Porta-Potty.
not a gas
At this
station.
point, I have no choice. It's the only end in sight. And again, we're in city limits. We're in sort of a town-ish thing. But again, there's no gas stations around, but this isn't pee where I can risk it to wait for later. And I'm not out in the woods, so I can't go run off into the bushes.
Where is
So
this
I have to
Porta-Potty?
have a receptacle to poop in.
Is it just sitting on the side of the road?
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably at a construction site.
Okay.
You know, those are always super clean. Maybe it was just got left somewhere and it was supposed to be picked up. I don't know. I go running off into the Porta-Potty. It's 95 degrees outside. So when you talk about entering a
120.
Porta-Potty at that point, yeah, it's basically a shit sauna. So at this point, I'm sweating. I'm nervous sweating. I have the cold sweats from having to poop. I'm sweating because it's also hot outside. I don't really want to shut the door. I'm trying to manage not letting my belt touch anything, but also I have to pull it down far enough. Also, I'm hovering because I don't want to put my bare ass on the seat. And then, I don't know, I'm sure you have experienced at some time in your life the level of explosive diarrhea where you're not sure what is this an exit splash or a re-entry splash? And then thank God, the only thing in the world that I can say that makes me believe in God is that there was toilet paper in this thing. Because between my contribution and the chemical backsplash and my sweat, because I'm also wearing a bulletproof vest at this point and an under and overshirt, I am profusely sweating, doing a wall sit in the air, and then trying to wipe myself with toilet paper I've scrounged up from this raggedy ass. Dude, I've never felt more disgusting in my entire life. And I vividly remember getting back in the car and hoping to God that I didn't miss something and then smell.
Okay, I have questions. It comes out and something comes back up because this yeah, when something hits hard enough, it's gonna splash back up. But do we know if it was just the blue stuff, or
We
do
have
we
no
know if
idea. We
it's
don't. It was probably a mixture of chemicals and fecal matter. I don't know. I
like other
am
people's
still
fecal?
traumatized. I obviously didn't get a major infection from it because I'm still alive to this day, but
Not even like the water splashing back up in a clean
me
toilet.
either. If my own toilet at my own house, I don't
Uh-huh.
even like it. And,
So,
normally if you're sitting down, your butt's to the toilet seat, but I'm hovering because I don't want to
mhm,
put my butt on there. But while that's nice for not putting your raw ass on a weird seat, it does increase the distance, which
uh-huh.
increases the gravitational pull of the turd and the splash increases.
That's awful. So when you got back in the car, like, did you feel relieved? Did you feel just so gross? Like, how did you go through the rest of your day without showering?
That's the question of the hour.
Oh
I
my
felt
God.
disgusting every time I got home from doing field work at that job because you're hot and you're sweaty, and a lot of people's homes smell weird, and just being in the car all day, I don't know. But that was one of the worst. I felt relieved that I didn't poop in my pants because, I mean, to have
Would that have
pooped,
been work?
yeah, to have pooped my pants in a car that's the government car with cloth seats,
Valid.
I couldn't have returned to
Or
work.
even if you like had stepped out of the car, how are you going to get back in the car with a
Yeah.
poopy pants?
I would have had poop in my shoes. I mean, it was that kind of situation.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you made it to the porta potty, but I'm also really sad that you got whatever was in there splashed back up on you.
That would, I mean, that's hands down the grossest scenario I've ever had, and that's why when people ask, or if we have to stop at the gas station for a road trip or something, Jason's like, "I know these bathrooms are gross." I'm like, buddy, I know gross.
Not as bad as a porta potty.
I've done it.
Oh God.
Anyway, next on the list, we have a story that I would like to call men's room only. I'm sure this has happened to people. Again, when you've been driving down a country road and you've seen nothing for 20 minutes to 30 minutes, and you anticipate to see nothing for 20 to 30 more minutes, and the end destination is a house in which you can't pee, you sort of end up to a point where you just have to make a game day decision. So in this case, I went into the bathroom again, eyes yellow, urine coming out of my tear
Oh
ducts.
my God.
I have to pee so bad. And you just run. And some of these weird, sometimes, and I can't remember specifically where this was, but sometimes you don't even have to be in the middle of the country. There's just weird outlying city living areas that are not good parts of town that really just don't have gas stations.
Yeah.
So you finally pick one that feels less murderous. I recognize I'm carrying for work, but it's still not really the situation where you would like to get into an altercation over having to go pee. So I go in the bathroom, and of course, the women's only is out, which I'll pee in a men's restroom all day, any day,
I've seen you
when
do
it's
it.
the single stalls,
Yeah. Yes.
because they're the same, except that the
Yeah.
men's smells like urine from the urinal. But this was not a single stall, and I didn't have time to fuck around, and the women's was closed. So I bang on the door. No one's in there. I'm like, well, hope if there is a guy in there, he's not ignoring me. Thank God there's no dudes in there. I don't see any wieners, but I obviously have to use the stall.
Yeah.
And the layout of this bathroom is the worst possible layout for this situation because there were 2 urinals and then 1 stall, which means that if a guy comes in after me and has to poop, he's going to have to wait on me
hmm
to leave the stall.
But also, what if someone just comes in to pee? I guess you would just wait it out in the
I would just
stall.
wait them out. I mean, who
My
cares?
God.
And just, figure I've got dude looking pants and shoes on for work, so they're probably not going to know, and they're probably not going to check. They're just going to think some guy's in there taking a big old poop. Um, I've never peed so fast in my
I
life.
gotta bet.
I
Because A,
mean,
you had to go really bad, and B, you were like, I gotta
yes,
get out of here.
I squeezed out every possible Kegel muscle I owned and shoved, and I was in such a hurry because then once I left the stall, I'm having to do all this maneuvering. But once I left the stall, I'm like, well, I don't want a guy to come in here and see me and what I'm wearing and what I'm doing. And luckily, again, the gods were on my side. The road gods were on my side and nobody came in there. The bathroom was disgusting. Again, who cares?
My God.
I didn't wash my hands because I was too scared.
I don't blame you.
I just ran out and then I always had hand sanitizer in the car. So I just sanitized my hands and called it a day.
Oh, that's stressful.
Last
I don't
but not
even like,
least.
I've gone to a single, like a only, where it's like just one stall. I've had to do that a couple times in my life. Rare, but it still freaks me out because I feel like a jackass if I come out and someone's waiting, like a guy is waiting on the bathroom, door bathroom. I'm like, sorry. Like I had to go. I'm sorry.
I used to feel bad, but then I was like, do you know what? This is the store's fault because if this is I will forever die on the soapbox. If you are a store and you have 2 bathrooms and they are single bathrooms, there is no reason for them to be labeled men and women.
Yeah, it should just be unisex.
And I guess one of them has a urinal. I would just mark it urinal, no urinal. Then no one has to worry about it. If I owned a business, I'm sorry, men, I just wouldn't even put a urinal in it. It would just be toilets. Or I'd put a urinal in both. I don't know. Maybe if I was feeling generous. Anyway, last but not least, we have my other favorite story called No Public Restrooms.
Oh, no.
Which I think you have heard the story. And this is a crime against humanity because I think that as a gas station owner, it is part of your civic duty to offer a bathroom to travelers.
Not even if you buy something, you can't use it?
No public restrooms.
Wow, that's crappy.
So again, on the road, 20 minutes behind me, 30 to 40 minutes in front of me. It's a house. I can't pee. I have all my stuff. Eyes yellow, bladder spasming. Finally see something as I get off the interstate in the middle of Nowheresville. I'm clearly in distress. I blacked out basically. I had to pee so bad. So I'm like hobbling in there, clearly in a panic. Tears almost coming down my eyes. And I said to this lady who was mean looking as hell, it's like, please, can I use your, because there's a big sign on the front door that says no public restrooms. And so I walk in, like, please, can I use your bathroom? I swear to God, I'll buy something. She was like, the sign says there's no public restrooms. I'm freaking out at this point because when
I'm gonna pee on your floor.
Yes, and when your body sort of senses there's about to be a relief, it kind of starts to relax. Yes. And then I'm like, oh God, oh God, oh God. Thank God. And on this time I wasn't with my field partner. I pulled my car around to the back of her parking lot, got in the back seat of the vehicle. Luckily, I had an empty coffee cup with me, and there's heavy tinting on the government cars. So I literally squatted in the back of our car and peed into a coffee cup. I was so afraid, though, because I didn't know how full it was because I couldn't see around all of myself and this cramming in and the stuff. So I just sort of tried to base it on the sound of the fill of the cup, how full it was. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to do all the pee, but I figured if I just let a little bit off, I could let off the pressure to get far enough away to get somewhere that I wouldn't pee my pants. So I peed halfway full into my coffee cup and then poured it in the...
Good. I'm sorry. Because I was going to say, if that was me, good. If that was me and she could tell I was like crying urine out of my face and you don't want to let me use your bathroom, I would have peed in your parking lot. Like straight up, I'll just pee in your parking lot. I'll pee on the front porch.
Had I not been on duty with obvious markings and I maybe would have been more brazen, made hard eye contact with her as I poured it out. I did everything slowly and slyly and then got back into the car. And then luckily, I could tell from my GPS on that trip that I'd had a gas station coming in the future, but I just wasn't going to make it.
That's crazy. Kailey, you should have how much of a pain in the butt would this be? But every morning before your field visits, just stick a catheter in there.
And I think I'm not making this up. I think when I finally got to the second gas station, I still had to go to the bathroom pretty bad. I just let off the immediate pressure load. I think when I got to that one, both of the signs said out of order. And the person at the gas station looked at the panic on my face and she was like, no, they're fine. They actually work. You can go in.
Well, that wasn't nice of that person, but also, why are your signs incorrect? And also, golly.
I was so scared. I was like, you have got to be kidding. I can't do it. I can't pee in another parking.
I've already used my one empty coffee cup. Oh my gosh. That's because on another note, not at work, you peed in a Yeti before. Your Yeti.
This Yeti.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was when I got stuck in traffic and I was about to piss myself and I was in the middle of the nowhere and it was bumper to bumper and then Life Flight landed.
Yeah. That's not good.
Obviously, the person being Life Flighted had a worse day than I did, but it took me a while to use that Stanley Cup again.
You know, for as much as I, as a child, had what you would call poopy problems, I don't think I've ever had any crazy stories like this. But I also feel like I was always in an area with a bathroom at least relatively close, whereas you're on the road driving. That is so crazy. I think the Porta-Potty one is the worst.
I think it is too. I have several key takeaways that I'll share before we hang up today. And again, I want to hear other people's stories because I know I'm not the only person that was doing road travel. And also, men, if there's difficulties of yours with your maneuverings that I have not identified, I'm sorry because I just don't know how your hardware works, but please tell us. So my key takeaways are to keep dude wipes in the car because ladies can use them too. And I would have loved to have had a wipe after the chemical backsplash ordeal.
Mm-hmm.
Not even just for that, but just for my armpits and my face because I was so sweaty. Also, be prepared with, as to your point, be prepared with some kind of line to throw out when you walk out of the men's room. Just have something in your back pocket so that you can get a chuckle. And then I figure for me, if they're laughing, I'm not embarrassed because now I've made the embarrassment a group joke. Always have a container that you can pee in when you're in the car and make sure it has a wide mouth. And then last but not least, don't ever pass a gas station because you don't know when the next one will be. And you also don't know if the next one will have a public bathroom.
Or one that works. That's crazy. You get like PTSD when you're on road trips now?
No, because I'm like, nothing can be worse than this. At least
That's
on the
true.
interstate, there's regular intervals and regular gas stations. But shout out to Buc-ee's because they always make... I appreciate them more than anyone else.
Love you,
Love you,
bye.
bye.
Bro, that stressed me out.
Right?